VidCon was not the same for me. I don't know. This is my 5th VidCon. I want to talk about it a little bit, but before I do, make sure you subscribe to Nightlight. It's going to be linked down in the description. I write about this topic a little bit more in depth, but I want to discuss it here in more of a long form with Kevin. So make sure you subscribe. And it felt a little off. And this was the second year that I hosted a creator dinner, which was great. We had a ton of creators. I think we had 80, 90 people there total. But something just felt off. Driving into the city, I was driving to the Anaheim Convention Center. I was at the hotels, and it just didn't feel like the same amount of buzz was in the city. It also, Kevin, it didn't feel like there was fans there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was the one thing that I kind of took away was when I was at the Hyatt, the one thing I realized, there was not fans waiting outside, which is the first time I hadn't seen fans frantically trying to get into the creator hotel. And the Hyatt is the hotel that all the creators stay in, all the featured creators stay in. And there's no one waiting outside, which was so weird.
Yeah, I know that you had said, like, during COVID, and I have, like, the numbers here. Alex, you'll throw them up here. But really, like, attendance has been kind of going down in the last couple of years. I think we had, a peak of 75K in 2019. Mm-hmm. But then it's, like, kind of been slowly going down. We have 2023's numbers, which are at about 50K, but I even feel like it was...
That feels high.
I was there last year, and it felt like there was more people
50K feels high last year,
I wouldn't
too.
be surprised if it was 40, 45, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think VidCon ever truly made a comeback after COVID. I think they took, if I remember correctly, they took a year off during COVID where it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it just never got back to where it used to be, which was 70, 80,000 people at the conference, ascending on Anaheim. 50,000 in 2023 feels like a lot. I also, the one thing I did notice is in 2017, 2016, 2015, all the big creators at least for what I remember, attended VidCon, right? They did meetups, they met fans. Now, as I think about the biggest creators, it's like, Kai Cenat, iShowSpeed, Mr. Beast, none of them were there. None of the big, and even the breakout creators that we've had this year, like let's go through breakout creators, like Ryan Trahan, Zach Justice, weren't there. Outdoor Boys, not there. Yeah. Sam Sulik, not there. So like even all the breakout creators that came from this year, none of them attended VidCon. So it's like as I'm thinking about this conference, they need to be able to incentivize the biggest creators to come. And I think in 2023, 2024, that's very difficult because most of them just do fan meetups themselves. Yeah. If they don't really need the infrastructure of VidCon to do a fan meetup. If they want to do a fan meetup, they post about it. There's companies that allow them to set this up, or there's companies that allow them to tour. Zach Justice just went on a tour with the Pop Dropouts podcast. Yeah. He didn't really need to go to VidCon. He already did a 4 or 5 city tour.
Yeah. I want to ask a question because I wasn't there. Obviously, last year was kind of my first VidCon, and already so much was different. But like, walk me through 5 years ago or like the early days of VidCon. Like, what did you notice there that you did not this time?
There used to be fan pandemonium. Yeah. The one thing that I used to really remember about VidCon was the screams from the fans. Yeah. It's so many 12-year-olds screaming at their favorite creators. I think the most famous VidCon video was when Logan Paul ran out to the main fountain and just the sheer amount of people that were chasing him. And I think if I remember correctly, he hid money in a fountain or something like that. And it's just absolute chaos. They used to not let creators go onto the floor in the conference center because all the fans were just waiting for the creators to come out. They would mob them. And now, walking through the conference center, I didn't see a ton of fans. It almost felt like an industry conference. Yeah. It felt like a conference where people come to just talk about the creator economy. It seems like the fandom of VidCon is slowly fading. And I noticed that, from the hotels to the convention center, that's just the fandom is just not what it used to be in 2015, 2016. Yeah. Even I remember the early days of VidCon, 2015, 2016, staying at the hotel, the creator hotel, and all night, all you would hear is fans outside yelling and chanting. Yep. I didn't see any fans around the hotel this year.
Also you're saying that the industry is kind of changing. And I noticed a big difference in like the amount of brands that were not there this year. There wasn't Spotter, no Amazon, no Discord, Carrots, Spotify, Tube Filter, no Twitch. Like I feel like, the amount of brands and TikTok was the title sponsor in 2022. And like now this year, they just had like a party and like a room for it.
Yeah.
What do
You're saying those brands were not on the conference floor, or they just had no involvement?
they had no involvement.
I'm sure some of them hosted little side parties.
Sure, yeah, they did.
But yeah, the walking through the exhibitor center and the conference hall, a lot of the creator economy brands are just not there. I mean, I think a lot of this is just where the economy currently is. A lot of those companies went through layoffs. They've went through down investment rounds. I just think as a whole, the creator economy has really struggled over the last 18 months. I think we've had a lot of consolidation. We've had a lot of companies go out of business. So I think, some of this is VidCon lost its luster. I think some of this is also that we're in a very weird macro economy right now where it's like brands aren't spending as much. Everyone's really, really cautious of where they're spending their money. And so when you look to start cutting budget, I think, $100,000, $200,000 VidCon budget probably goes first, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of those companies that you named, not in the conference hall, probably didn't do a lot of events, but I think they're probably looking for things to cut back on too, just where the world is currently at. And unfortunately, like VidCon, is in a place now where it's like really having to struggle to get fans to show up, and it's struggling to get some of these companies to continually show up year after year. Yeah,
I noticed too, I know you had kind of mentioned that more for industries, less for like the community aspect of it. Even when you're like walking around the halls, right? Like, everybody has the badges. You're either the community track, the creator track, or the industry track. And I know that you were like, hey, check out, because we kind of did the numbers on this year, and it was about like, 30%.
I wanted you to look at what was the breakdown of those specific meetings, because early days of VidCon, it was predominantly dominated by creator panels and events, right? Even on main stage, it was all big creators doing big things on main stage and the side stages. Now it seems like we've pivoted to like almost a 50-50 balance of creators and industry.
Yeah.
And so what did your math come out to be?
I just looked at last year, and there was a 21% increase for the creators track in terms of just number of events, which I feel like that's like really telling. It's the maturation. Yeah, maturation.
There you go. You're almost there.
There we go.
So wait, just so I understand, you're saying that the creator events have increased by 22%.
Yes, there were more creator events, like holistically this year than compared to last year.
What about industry events?
Industry events are about the same, and then honestly, so were the community. The community didn't change that much, but it's like the creator events is just what I would say is significantly up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think we've talked about this before on this podcast, where I think that the days of the macro creator are slowly coming to an end, and that at least YouTube and TikTok is going to be much more about the middle tier of the creator economy.
Yeah.
I think the industry is going to become much wider. It's not going to be, you have the macro creators and the micro creators. I think it's going to be a lot of creators in the middle. Yeah. And I think with that maturation, you'll see a lot more creator panels, meetups, things going on, because it's much wider industry. But the issue is the people that really drive the sales at VidCon are the big creators, right? And so when you have none of them attending, it's very, very hard to sustain 10, like whatever they were at, 70, 80,000 tickets per year, where it's now I'm guessing they're probably hovering around 25,000 maybe.
Yeah, 20, 30.
And this is one thing that you brought up to me yesterday, was when you were walking through the conference hall, you saw a lot more featured creator and industry badges than anything. Like you said, almost everyone you saw had one of those two badges.
It's hard to find community people.
Exactly. It was hard to find fans.
Except for, the Minecraft and the event stages. Like, I think those draw a big crowd, but it's really like I feel like 10 to 15 or like young aspiring people. It's not their communities that are showing up to, their meet and greets and stuff like that.
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of events that I think are going to compete with VidCon now. If this becomes an industry event, we have Vid Summit, which is in Dallas this summer, I think, for the second year. But I think it's the 6th year of the event. And so now we have Vid Summit competing directly as like an industry-specific conference for creators. And VidCon is like what seems like slowly becoming more of an industry event, less of a fan experience event. And so I don't know. It's just been interesting to see this kind of unfold. But I don't think COVID helped this at all. I think the year off and everything that happened during that whole cycle of a year that I don't remember just like really dominated the events. Like even like we don't even get E3 anymore. That was one of my favorite events of the year.
Loved it.
Now the video game companies just host their own events. And so this is like happening in all over the industry, but it just felt just strange like being in the city. They're used to also when you would drive down close to the hotels in the convention center, there was usually fans everywhere. People were walking on the sidewalks, like there was stuff going on.
Huge activations,
Yeah, it just didn't feel like that this year.
No. And it's funny that you bring up, I know that Cannes Lions, they had a big creator push this year. And I'm wondering, and same with South by Southwest, you were saying. So it's like, I'm, wondering if these are kind of because you have more of the traditional kinds of media at those places. And it's funny because there was a panel that I almost went to that was like art, and you said it. And I mean, our creators becoming the next Hollywood. There was a panel about that. And then you see creators going to places like that in South by Southwest. And it's kind of like, that's kind of, I feel like the next step for some.
Well, I think you're seeing the maturity of the creator economy slowly intertwining with traditional Hollywood and traditional media.
Yeah.
And so how ads are bought, how media is consumed, like it's all blending together. And so Cannes Lions, South by Southwest, a lot of these entertainment festivals have to pull in the creator economy because it's taking so much oxygen out of the room. Like the amount of attention going to YouTube and Twitch and even podcasts now, which is a lot of podcasts are creators, comedians, like it's all blending together.
Yeah.
And so I think like has a large part to do with it, or has a large part to do with it is like Cannes Lions understands that a lot of the media is going digital. It's going to YouTube, it's going to TikTok, and they need to be in front of it, and they need to have the biggest creators. I think you said Alex Earl was there.
Yep.
I know Colin and Samir spoke. There was a lot of creators that went to Cannes Lions this year because there is a lot of CMOs and a lot of people that buy these types of YouTube channels and spend a lot of media on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I think that continues to happen. It seems like VidCon's getting lost in the shuffle of the maturity of the creator economy. I was hoping that VidCon would continue to expand as the creator economy expands. It just hasn't felt like that. It's felt like every other thing is taking away attention from what VidCon used to be, which was like the creator attention center of the year. I don't know. It's just like thinking back on it from the past week. It's just interesting to kind of think about like where does VidCon head from here? Or how do they pivot the business? And I know Paramount's trying to sell it. Or how do they pivot the business to add in different verticals, to bring in other industries so it's not all just creator centric? And then how do you pull in the biggest creators to be a part of this big event? I don't know, like a lot of questions they have to solve if they want to continue to run this event. But yeah, it's like, it's not that I love VidCon. I wish VidCon was 150,000 people every single summer. I wish it continued to be the center of the creator economy. I wish every single creator went. None of them get paid, by the way. No creators get paid to go to VidCon. They all go for free. They all fly out. VidCon will pay for flights and hotels and things like that. But a lot of these creators, they don't get paid to go. But I want nothing more than for there to be an event that we all go to once a year. I just think in this new age of how many creators there are and how many events, it's just becoming tougher and tougher. So would be interesting to see what people think as well in the comments. And maybe I'm totally off base and everyone thought that VidCon was larger than life this year. So it'd be interesting to see like what people think. But yeah, hopefully you guys like this episode and talk soon. And if you're not subscribed to Nightlight, what are you doing? Link is in the description. I write about this stuff and then we'll talk about it on this channel as well. Make sure you subscribe.